Hello, welcome back. This is Craig. Going to continue the photo restoration of President Lincoln, the photograph. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about conventional tools that you have to use when you're restoring a photograph. There's a lot of fancy tools and newer tools that are quick and easy. You have your healing tools with the spot healing brush, the patch tool, content aware. But sometimes they just don't work for the job, and you have to go back to traditional methods. Excuse me. So today I'm going to zoom in here on the chair. I put a big scratch across the chair to kind of show you. I thought this would be a good place to kind of demonstrate. If I go to my stamp tool here, and conventional wisdom might be that, well, we have a pattern in the chair, maybe I could just duplicate the pattern up here. I'm going to reduce this. We'll try the stamp tool just to show you. And let's just say I stamp about right here. And now as I move up, you can see that while it's picking up the chair, it's also picking up the angle from down here. And since the chair curves up to almost a vertical here, it doesn't really fit in there. So while the pattern looks pretty good, even if I bump this up in size, it actually gets worse when I bump it up in size. That pattern just doesn't fit. So that isn't really an option. Same would happen if we use like the patch tool here and moved it up. That wouldn't work real well. So I'm just going to type L and go to my kind of standard. This is an old tried and true tool in Photoshop, the Lasso Tool. And we're going to kind of do this manually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my feather here, and since this is a 300 pixel per inch photograph, decent resolution, I'll leave my feather at just 2 pixels, and that won't give me too much of a blur. And what I will do is I'm going to select this area down here, and if you remember, if you've seen any of my other videos, to kind of hide that we selected an area, I make a zigzag or kind of a border that isn't consistently straight. Now I'm going to simply take this area and I'm going to go to Layer, New, and I'm going to copy that. Now that gives me a new layer over here, and what that new layer has is my selection with a blur. If you zoom in here, you can see that I have just a slight blur on the edge. So now on the new layer, I can move this up and find where I think it fits the best. Now you can see that the angles are off here and here. All I have to do is Command T to transform this, and I will hover over the corner and I will rotate it ever so slightly, and then with my left and right arrow keys I will nudge it into place. Turn it just a little bit more until I get it just where I want it. Now I can still move it up and down to try to align to that pattern. And I see where I'm kind of putting this dot here together with that one and this one up here together. Notice the blur. This looks really bad right here, so I may even have to bring this in as the chair tapers just a little bit. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit too to see that chair taper. And if I need to, see how I'm losing some of the, or there's too much of a taper here, I'm going to hold my Command key down and notice how the double arrow in the corner changes to just a single hollow arrow. That will allow me to pull just one corner out and distort this just a little bit. So I'm going to pull that out and just align that to the chair. So this lines up pretty well. I'm going to pull this out just a touch too. That lines up here. This white line lines up, that lines up, and now I can type return. And as I zoom out, I can barely even tell I was there. It fits nicely in there, and I've repaired that chair. Now all that's left is the lasso tool. I could do this. There's some stuff in here I think I'll do the same thing with. To get this out of here, I will probably type L to go back to my lasso tool, and I will grab this chunk down here. Now there's another way you can do this, which I don't prefer, but you can, without making a new layer, oh, I better go back to this layer, you can just hold down your Command and Option. You get that double arrow, and you can duplicate a section of this and bring it up here. The only problem is this is destructive in that whatever you copy up here, there's no going back. Once I click or hit Command D to get rid of my selection, I am stuck with that whether I like it or not. It's not on a separate layer. So from here, I could go in now with my stamp tool, and I am going to make the edges a little bit harder. It will go up to maybe like an 80, maybe 85. And there's still a little bit of artifact in here. I can stamp this out or make these fit a little bit better. I'll stamp some of this out. That looks awful, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to soften this just a little bit more. We'll go back to 50. Now I'll grab some of this and stamp away in here. You'll be surprised once you zoom out how most of that will just disappear and it looks like just another highlighter part of the chair. This seems a little bit bright in here, so I'm going to take some of this out, some of that highlight. That looks a little bit better as I zoom out. Barely tell we were there too. So now over here what I would do is I would probably just go back to the patch tool, and I will grab this with an inconsistent border, pull it down, I'll pull it up where it's a little bit lighter. Ooh, I grabbed a little bit of that chair edge there. No, it's pretty close to the chair edge. So I'm going to go back to my stamp tool. Put a nice blur on this, full blur. I will sample here. Oh, I just found out what's happening here. Good, this was a good thing to learn from. What's in the way here is that extra layer that I put on there. So that's why that's not working. So let me just back up here with the clone stamp tool. I'm in my history palette here, back all the way up here. So now that I'm happy with this, what I'll do is I'm just going to flatten these two layers. I will select these two layers, and with my control, click, go to merge layers. You could do flatten image because we only have two layers in the whole file, but I'll go merge layers. Now when I use that patch tool, this should work because I only have one layer, and that works much better. I have a few other pieces out here. I'll get rid of these as well. And so on. So that is how you can fix something using the Lasso tool, and then I touched it up with a clone stamp tool, and in the end, after I merged the layers, I finished up with the patch tool on the outside. And as you can see here, the chair, you can tell it's fixed, and you can't tell we ever really touched it. I hope this helps. Thank you.